Hello, New York Yankees fans. We have brand new exclusive videos and the latest news for you. Before we get started, we'd like to invite you to join our channel and give this video a like. It's crucial to get exclusive access to the latest updates. The whispers coming out of New York this week are louder than the crack of a bat in a silent stadium. The Yankees, always a team under the brightest lights and the harshest microscopes, suddenly find themselves in the middle of a storm that has nothing to do with the standings, the injuries, or even the pressure of October baseball. This time, the drama is all about a player who was once considered the cornerstone of the future and a manager who seems to have reached his breaking point. Reports are swirling that Aaron Boone has flat out refused to put Gleyber Torres in the lineup. And if the sources are correct, it's not about fatigue, not about matchups, not about analytics, and not even about minor injury. It's about trust, frustration, and a final straw that apparently snapped in the middle of the Yankees clubhouse. Boone allegedly said words that hit like a fastball to the ribs. "I can't anymore." For a fan base that has spent years watching Torres rise, fall, and then hover in that uncertain middle ground of inconsistency, this is more than just a rumor. It's the possible implosion of a relationship that once promised so much. When you rewind just a few seasons, the contrast couldn't be more striking. Gleyber Torres was the golden boy, the kid who arrived with swagger, who hit homers in bunches, who made the Bronx faithful believe they were watching the next great Yankee infielder in the mold of Derek Jeter or Robinson Cano. In 2019, he looked unstoppable, blasting 38 home runs and delivering clutch moments that electrified the city. The Yankees had found a young star, and the front office thought they had solved second base for the next decade. But baseball is cruel, unforgiving, and brutally honest. Since that high point, Torres has been a riddle wrapped in inconsistency, at times flashing brilliance, but far too often disappearing when the team needed stability. Sloppy fielding, questionable hustle, and a streaky bat started to erode the faith Boone and the organization once had. For years, they defended him. They said he was still young. They said growth takes time. But now, if this rumor is true, Boone has finally slammed the door shut, refusing to let patience turn into outright liability on a roster fighting for respect. What makes this situation explode beyond the usual player-manager tension is the way it reportedly played out. Inside sources claim Boone didn't just make a quiet lineup decision. He made a statement, a declaration that shook the room. The words, "I can't anymore," suggest a man who has given chance after chance, meeting after meeting, conversation after conversation, and seen no change in return. In baseball, benchings happen all the time, but rarely with this much drama, rarely with the undertone of finality. This feels different. This feels like a breaking of ties, like a coach deciding his faith is gone and his patience has expired. And for the Yankees, a franchise that lives and dies by its reputation for discipline and excellence, this kind of confrontation becomes more than internal. It becomes a message to the whole roster. If Gleyber Torres, once a symbol of the future, can be cast aside so dramatically, what does that say about the rest of the team? It says nobody is untouchable, nobody is safe, and excuses are no longer welcome in the Bronx. Fans, of course, are already split right down the middle. Some argue that Boone has been far too patient, that Torres has been skating by on reputation for years, and that finally drawing a line in the sand is the best thing that could happen. They point to the mental lapses on the field, the inexplicable errors, the times when Torres seemed disengaged or lost in his own head, and they nod along with the manager's frustration. Others, though, see it differently. They see Boone's move as rash, as emotional, as the kind of decision that creates more chaos than clarity. Torres, they remind us, is still just 27, still young enough to turn it around, still talented enough to catch fire in a way that could win October games. Benching him completely, refusing to use him, is like throwing gasoline on a fire already burning through the clubhouse. The Yankees thrive on drama, but they don't necessarily thrive on instability, and some fans believe Boone may have just opened a wound that will not heal easily. It's also worth considering what this does to the Yankees' front office and their long-term plans. For years, General Manager Brian Cashman has defended Torres publicly. insisting he was a key piece of the roster, someone who couldn't just be tossed aside or traded for scraps. Cashman resisted offers in the past, even when other teams came sniffing around, believing Torres was worth more in pinstripes. If Boone has truly turned against him, that alignment between the dugout and the front office might be cracking. Suddenly, Cashman faces a decision he's tried to avoid: back as manager or back as player, and either choice comes with enormous consequences. Supporting Boone means admitting Torres no longer has a place on the team, which could force an off-season trade at a reduced value. Supporting Torres means undermining Boone, which could destabilize the manager's authority. The Yankees don't usually operate with this much dysfunction in public view, but this rumor paints a picture of a team on the verge of tearing itself apart from the inside. Meanwhile, the clubhouse dynamic can't be ignored. Players are watching closely, and they know better than anyone how fragile chemistry can be in a season where every game feels like a war. Torres still has allies in that room, teammates who like him, who respect him, who believe he can bounce back. If they see Boone's move as unfair, it risks creating division, creating sides, turning the Yankees clubhouse into a fractured space where whispers grow louder than leadership. On the flip side, there are surely players who are tired of covering for mistakes, tired of watching Torres slip in critical moments, tired of waiting for potential to turn into consistency. For them, Boone's decision might feel like justice, a manager finally holding someone accountable. When a team starts splitting into camps, though, the results are rarely positive. This isn't just about who plays second base anymore. It's about who controls the narrative inside Yankee Stadium, and whether Boone's hardline becomes a spark for unity or the crack that splits the team in half. From a media standpoint, this is pure gasoline on the fire. New York thrives on controversy, on headlines, on storylines that feel bigger than life, and the press is feasting on the whispers like sharks sensing blood in the water. Every sports radio show in the city is already buzzing with takes, with callers either ripping Boone or ripping Torres, with heated debates that sound more like courtroom trials than baseball analysis. Social media, of course, has exploded with memes, with clips of Torres' errors, with old highlights resurfacing to remind everyone of what he once was. The phrase, "I can't anymore," has become a rallying cry, a punchline, a dagger. For a city that demands both excellence and drama, this story hits both buttons perfectly. And while Yankees fans are used to the constant swirl of noise, this one feels different. It feels personal, emotional, and deeply tied to the identity of a team that cannot seem to escape its own contradictions. The Yankees are supposed to embody tradition and strength, but here they are, once again in the middle of a soap opera that belongs more to a reality show than to a ball club chasing championships. What happens next might define the Yankees season, even more than wins and losses. If Torres accepts this benching quietly, works harder, and somehow claws his way back, the narrative could shift into one of redemption, the kind of storyline that makes sports so compelling. But if he sulks, if he withdraws, if the rumors of Boone's words harden into resentment, this could spiral into an irreparable split. Boone himself isn't immune to criticism. If the team stumbles without Torres, fans may quickly turn their frustration toward the manager, questioning whether he let his emotions dictate strategy. In New York, patience is thinner than the foul lines, and the public opinion can swing overnight. Torres versus Boone has the potential to overshadow the actual baseball being played, turning every press conference into a referendum, every game into a subplot in a larger drama. The Yankees have always carried the weight of history, but right now, they're carrying the burden of discord. And if they can't solve it, this season could be remembered not for what they achieved on the field, but for the moment their manager reportedly said enough was enough. The whispers now grow louder with every passing day, as though the Bronx itself has become an echo chamber for this brewing storm. Players show up to the ballpark, reporters gather near the dugout, and everyone wonders if today will be the day Boone breaks his silence. Yet, the silence continues, which only fuels the speculation. If Boone really did utter those infamous words, "I can't anymore," then the refusal to clarify or deny makes it all the more believable. That's the thing about New York. Silence is never neutral. Silence becomes a statement of its own. Meanwhile, Gleyber Torres stands at the center of it all, the once celebrated prodigy who now has to face the uncomfortable reality of being a symbol of frustration. His body language on the bench has become a topic of debate, his interactions with teammates scrutinized, his smiles, or lack thereof, dissected, as though they hold the secrets to the entire saga. Baseball is supposed to be about numbers, about stats, about production. Yet here we are, reading the drama through gestures and shadows, watching the slow unraveling of a relationship that was once meant to be the beating heart of Yankee destiny. For Boone, the timing of this rumored stand is as fascinating as it is controversial. The Yankees are not out of contention. They're not bottom feeders grasping for relevance. They're still in the fight, still chasing October dreams. That makes the decision, if true, all the more radical. Benching a starter in April, or may can be brushed off as experimentation, as rotation, as giving other players opportunities. But to do this deep into the season, when every win carries the weight of a playoff berth, is a gamble that could either look visionary or reckless. Boone's critics argue that he has always leaned too heavily on loyalty, giving struggling players endless chances while ignoring alternatives. If that's the case, then maybe this is a course correction, a hard pivot into accountability. Yet the cynics suggest something darker, that Boone, under pressure himself, is deflecting heat by creating a scapegoat. Torres, in this theory, becomes the sacrifice, the example, the player thrown to the wolves so the manager can survive another storm. It's a cold, calculating perspective, but this is New York, and cold calculations are part of the game. And what of Torres himself? He has always been somewhat enigmatic, balancing moments of brilliance with stretches of invisibility. In interviews, he tends to deflect to keep things surface level, rarely showing the raw emotion that fans sometimes crave. But this situation may force him into a corner where words matter more than swings. If he chooses humility, admitting faults, expressing hunger to fight back, he could rewrite the narrative and turn the fans to his side. If he bristles, if he pushes back with defiance or entitlement, then the city will devour him whole. Torres is at a crossroads in his career, a point where his trajectory as a Yankee could be decided not just by the bat in his hands, but by the way he handles this public trial. Baseball players dream of pinstripes, but they also know pinstripes can weigh heavily when the fans turn on you. Torres doesn't just need a hot streak. He needs an act of redemption, something that can remind New York why they fell in love with him in the first place, before the errors, before the slumps, before the rumors of his manager's final straw. But before we continue, please remember to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the latest news about the New York Yankees. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments. Meanwhile, the other Yankees cannot escape the ripple effects of this drama. Every team claims to block out the noise, to focus only on the next pitch, the next game, the next opponent. But that's easier said than done when the noise comes from inside your own house. Boone's relationship with his players has always been built on communication, on protecting them publicly even while demanding accountability privately. Now that philosophy is being tested. If Torres has been singled out, do others wonder if they're next? Does a struggling hitter or an inconsistent pitcher start a question if Boone will one day declare, "I can't anymore," about them too? That kind of uncertainty can spread like wildfire, making players tentative instead of confident, cautious instead of fearless. On the other hand, some may welcome this new line in the sand, seeing it as proof that complacency is no longer acceptable. It could spark urgency, a sense of accountability that sharpens the team's edge. Either way, the impact will not stay confined to Torres alone. It will weave its way through every locker, every conversation, every glance exchanged in that tense and watchful clubhouse. From the perspective of the fans, this is theater they never asked for, but cannot stop watching. Yankees supporters live for drama almost as much as they live for victories, and the combination of both can be intoxicating. Some fans line up firmly behind Boone, applauding the courage it takes to say enough is enough. especially when so many managers in today's game hide behind data sheets instead of making gut decisions. Others rally around Torres, remembering the joy he once brought, convinced that Boone has turned his back too soon, too harshly, without giving him the runway to rediscover his form. The stadium, which already buzzes with pressure and expectation, now hums with division. Every at-bat without Torres in the lineup becomes a referendum. Every lineup card feels like a political statement. Fans dissect it on podcasts, debate it on radio shows, and flood social media with their takes, as though this isn't just about baseball, but about identity, about loyalty, about who gets to wear the pinstripes and who doesn't. For the Yankees, the diamond has never felt so much like a stage, and the game itself has never felt so much like a subplot. The national media, too, has smelled blood in the water. What starts in New York rarely stays in New York, especially when it involves one of the most famous franchises in sports. Suddenly, analysts on national television are weighing in. Former players are offering hot takes, and the saga of Boone versus Torres is being framed as a parable about modern baseball. Is this the inevitable clash between a manager trying to maintain old-school authority and a player raised in the era of social media, player empowerment, and endless second chances? Or is it simply the collapse of a relationship that never matured the way it should have? The larger narrative paints this as more than a Yankees problem. It becomes a baseball problem, a story about accountability, discipline, and the fine line between patience and indulgence. For fans outside of New York, it's easy to watch with popcorn in hand, entertained by the chaos. But for the Yankees themselves, every headline and every televised segment just adds to the pressure cooker, turning whispers into roars and private tension in a public spectacle. There's also the financial side to consider, which looms over every decision the Yankees make. Torres is not a cheap rookie anymore. He's at the point in his career where arbitration and contract negotiations bring a price tag that must be justified. If Boone refuses to play him, the Yankees must ask themselves whether it makes sense to continue investing in him at all. Do they cut their losses, trade him for prospects, and move on cleanly? Or do they double down, hoping that this is just a rocky chapter in a longer, more successful story? Money, after all, dictates much of modern baseball, and a player sitting on the bench while collecting millions becomes a glaring inefficiency. Fans notice, front offices notice, and rivals notice. Boone's rumored declaration could push Cashman and ownership into a corner where a decision must be made sooner rather than later. In that sense, this is not just about emotions, not just about frustration. It's about cold, hard economics. Every inning Torres spins out of the lineup costs the Yankees in ways that extend far beyond the scoreboard. And so, the saga continues, with no resolution in sight and no clear path forward. The Yankees have built their entire brand on the myth of invincibility, on the idea that wearing the pinstripes is not just a job, but an honor, a responsibility. Yet here they are, consumed by whispers, driven by rumors, and defined not by dominance, but by discord. Boone may truly believe he has reached his breaking point, and Torres may truly be at the lowest moment of his career, but what matters now is how they navigate the storm together, or apart. Redemption is always possible in baseball, because the game offers second chances with every new series, every new pitch. But redemption must be earned, and trust once broken is hard to restore. The Yankees, their fans, and the entire baseball world are watching this unfold like a slow-motion collision, knowing that however it ends, it will leave scars. This isn't just another chapter in the long history of the Bronx Bombers. This is a turning point, a moment where words spoken in frustration might alter the legacy of both a player and a manager, forever etched into the lore of Yankee Stadium. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.